29th meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Would we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, we want you to make sure you speak into the microphone.
Do a retake? Could we have a roll call, please?
William Hutton.
Here.
Nancy Reagan.
Here.
Roger Brock.
Here.
Dennis Radowski.
Here.
Kathleen Hill.
Here.
5 present. We have a quorum.
Do we have any minutes to approve, or do we need to table all the minutes?
We are requesting that you table all the minutes.
Okay, do we have a motion to a table the minutes for June 29th, 2016, May 24th, 2017, July 26th, 2017, February 25th, 2020, August 25th, 2020, December 1st, 2020, and May 25th, 2021?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we need a roll call vote, or a voice vote, okay.
Dennis Radowski.
Yes.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
Nancy Reagan.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes?
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions. Motion passed.
Do we
Kathy, you really need to get the microphone closer.
have any old business?
There's no old business.
Okay, we have new business which is Z 21-16, resolution of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Hammond, Indiana, adopting and approving resolution number 2021-01 of the Hammond Board of Zoning Appeals to establish the policy by which members of the Hammond Board of Zoning Appeals may participate in electronic means of communication. Was that loud enough for you? No.
Maybe her mic's not.
Okay, we have a resolution before us.
Madam Chairperson,
Mr. Poland?
Mr. Westland, could you just go ahead and give a summary of what this resolution is?
I can. So the resolution is in response to the fact that it appears that the public health emergency is going to be limited or if not completely ended here in the next 24 hours. Currently, the law, or prior to the pandemic, the law was that you couldn't do virtual meetings, but because of the governor's orders and the declaration of the emergency, we're allowed to do meetings virtually via Zoom. Once that declaration of public emergency and that executive order expires, which is set to expire at midnight tomorrow night, then you wouldn't be able to do virtual meetings. So the legislature came along in the spring of this year and passed a law that said, well, everybody likes these virtual option, so what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to do it on a limited basis. If you pass a resolution, a written resolution saying that you want to do them on a limited basis. That limited basis is limited to the number of times you can miss and be virtual, which is limited to 50% of the meetings in any calendar year. It's limited that if you do 2 virtual, the next one has to be in person. And there are exclusions to those limitations for things like if another public emergency is declared, or military service, or illness. Those are the types of things that you would be able to appear virtually without accounting towards that 50%. However, the desire of the legislature in passing the law was that most of the time you're here personally. Also, the limitations are that at least 50% of the overall group, so in this case, 3 of you would have to be here in person no matter what in order to have it. So no more everybody scattered to their homes, right? It's got to, it's really for that limited situation where a board member has to be away or because of illness, doesn't want to be in public, infecting other people. It's really for that limited purpose, and that's what this resolution does. The resolution is a citywide resolution that is being passed by every single board so that there's consistency amongst the boards in the city of Hammond. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I mean, going forward, all notices of meetings will have a virtual component to them. And as soon as you know for sure that you want to use the virtual option, you'll have to let Brian or Shannon or Tom know, because they have to note in the minutes if you're here virtually. If there is one person that's virtual, every vote has to be by roll call. So there are some things where we would need to know to be able to note a virtual appearance. But this does give some, where there was no flexibility before, this gives a little flexibility for virtual meetings. And not so much for this board, but people like consultants, attorneys, staff, because we're not voting members, it gives us the option, if the board is okay with it, to appear virtually, because really it's a question of the board members and their vote counting as to whether they have to be here or not. So, like for instance, the plan commission that would have like an engineer's report or something, well, Dean's on the board, so that's a bad example, but redevelopment commission, where we oftentimes have a professional come in and give us a report, that professional could always kind of come in virtually and do the report that way. So it was a compromise between where we were at, for the last 15 months and being in person all the time.
I would say, in addition to the benefit of staff, consultants, the board members of attending virtually, it is also that the public, the remonstrators themselves, can still attend virtually. And that is something I want to discuss in the work session about the logistics of that, but just be aware that it's available to anybody.
I had one other point that is kind of different. If you are going to appear virtually, in order for you to be able to vote on any matter, you have to be able to be seen and heard. So, like that seal that's on the Zoom right now, or just your name across the Zoom, that doesn't work.
So no phone call votes, or no phone call.
That's right. You have to be able to be seen by the public and heard. So your video's got to be rolling.
So as far as petitioners could go before us virtually then?
They
that-
could,
would that be-
but I would, listen, the courts are doing it kind of where you can ask to be on the phone or virtually through Zoom. And my thing always is, if it's a big enough deal that I'm going to go to court for a hearing, right, then I want to be there in person. And I guess I would say the same thing to a petitioner. Yeah, that's an option to you, but is this a substantial issue for you or not, right? And if it's a substantial issue, barring some, I don't know, weather event or whatever, I would expect that you'd want them here.
I would think we would want them here too, to be able to ask questions or anything like that. But can we pass anything that will enable us to say the petitioners wouldn't need to be here? Or are we better that we don't and give them the option like we have an option for the board members?
I would think you wouldn't pass anything, but you would take it on a case-by-case. If somebody's got a real emergency or issue as to why they can't physically be present, then the board would take that into consideration at that time.
And the petitioner will also have the option, because of something that happened in the family, to request for a continuance.
That's right.
I mean, is it worth putting a sentence or two in our procedures that we send out to the petitioners please advise if you will be attending virtually.
I think you assume they're going to be here in person,
Okay, all right.
because that's a strong preference, right? The strong preference is you want them here.
Correct. Okay.
And as far as for any board members, how much notification does the staff need that we would be virtual? Like as far as our meeting start at 6, getting a phone call at 5 o'clock, is that early enough before, because there are emergencies that could come up?
I would say you should give as much notice as possible.
Yes, we would, as much as possible. We understand last-minute emergencies. Hopefully, obviously, hopefully we don't have last-minute emergencies, but we know that occurs. If, at the very least, when Shannon calls for a quorum, we should know at that point in time. If you know any time before that, let us know. And of course, at the last minute, get a hold of us as best as possible if there's an emergency at the last minute.
Do any other members have any questions in regard to the resolution? Any staff members, attorney, do you have any other comments you'd like to make?
Nope.
Not at this time, no.
So could we have a motion to adopt resolution 2021-01 and have it put into the record?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could we have a roll call vote?
Dennis Radowski.
Yes.
Nancy Reagan.
Yes.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes?
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
All right. Any commissioners' comments? Any staff comments at this time?
No, staff, just remember that we have a work session immediately following this meeting.
Any public comments? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote?
Dennis Radowski.
Yes.
Nancy Reagan.
Yes.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes?
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
I have about 13 minutes. Was that short enough?
I think that's the
Okay, that's good for you?
Yeah, you're at the record.
Where in person do we have to continue?
Now, the next one.